It is so simple to change your assumptions, but nobody knows how to do it. You have probably heard, an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. I know you have heard it thousands of times. Every person who benefited from Neville's teachings remembers this statement. You very well know that in order to manifest, you have to change your assumptions. But still, you find it hard to change them. You don't know how to do it. You don't know what exactly needs to be done to change your existing assumptions, and you are only slightly aware of why it needs to be done. But worry no more, as you will get answers to all your questions. When manifesting, two parts of the mind are involved. They are categorized as the conscious and subconscious minds. The subconscious mind is now the storehouse of your assumptions and plays a vital role in manifesting your desires. In order to make your desires a reality, you have to convince your subconscious mind that you have gotten what you want. This convincing part becomes the hardest for some of you because there are opposing assumptions within you. These opposing assumptions are so dominant within you that when you start doing your affirmations, you feel like your affirmations are a big lie, and then you get demotivated and stop doing them. Your new ideas are totally opposite from what you assumed earlier. Like, once you had accepted some assumptions, you thought you are unattractive. On the other hand, you see your batchmate, who is just average looking and going on dates, getting matches on the dating app. I know it feels heartbreaking sometimes, but it won't happen anymore, as by the end of this video, you will have changed your existing assumptions, and that too pretty easily. First, let us understand why your conscious mind rejects your new ideas. Well, your conscious mind has this responsibility to protect you from threats, and a new idea is the biggest threat to your existing assumptions. If an introvert starts assuming that he is the most social person, then this new idea becomes a threat to him. This new idea threatens the identity of that person. For a long time, this person had this assumption of being an introvert. Now, to him, it feels scary to become a social person, as this idea is totally unrelated to his present conception of himself. It feels scary because his present ideas don't match with his old ones. Now, these assumptions were formed when you repeated some thought patterns. Over time, these repeated thought patterns were accepted by your mind. When these thought patterns were accepted, they became your assumptions, and your assumptions became a fact of your life. During your early days, when you were new on this planet, when you didn't know how to speak, when you've only listened, smiled, and crawled, you interacted with the external environment. This external environment consisted of your parents, your teachers, your friends, strangers, your siblings, your relatives, the television, and whatnot. You were a great observer at that time. You observed everyone around you, you listened to them, and you experienced some scenarios, and your assumptions were formed. When these assumptions were formed, you started thinking in a certain manner, you started behaving in a certain manner, and you manifested outcomes based on these assumptions. These assumptions became a fact of your life. Each of us has some flaws and strengths. These flaws and strengths make us unique, and they exist because of our assumptions. So, don't go and blame your parents, siblings, friends, or some strangers who made you believe in these flaws. It was not their fault. They too accepted these assumptions from some people in their early days. Some assumptions stayed with them, and they were passed on to you. But now you have a choice to change them. You have a choice to follow a different approach to life. These assumptions were formed by focusing on them, consciously and unconsciously. Now, in order to change them, you have to do the same. You have to focus on them. Whatever you focus on grows. Your focus is like a light that illuminates the object to which it is directed. So, you have to move your attention to the desired state. In the initial phase of forming a new assumption, you begin by having a new idea. When you have this new idea in your mind, you start wondering how my life would become if this new idea became true. You play with this idea. You let your imagination roam freely like a horse left in an open field of grass. You can consider this the first step in changing your existing assumptions. Now, you start landing on a feeling that will be yours once your desire becomes a reality. In the second step, you would have to become aware of the existing opposing beliefs that came into your mind when your mind was playing with this new idea. For example, if you are a man and you want to date beautiful women, but when you start playing with this new idea that you are dating many beautiful women, your imagination is showing you those scenarios. But then a thought comes to your mind that tells you you have a receding hairline. Then another comes up and tells you that you are slightly overweight. And then there is another that tells you that you don't even have an expensive car. Are you getting what I am telling you? When you start playing with this new idea, you start having these opposing beliefs. This is where step 2 comes in. You have to challenge these opposing assumptions. As soon as your mind starts giving you opposing assumptions, just challenge that assumption. Just give one idea that disproves that opposing assumption. In our case, the opposing assumption was that I have a receding hairline. You have to disprove this assumption by questioning yourself. Are there people who are dating beautiful women with receding hairlines or bald heads? When you ask this, you will get the answer. Yes, there are people who have receding hairlines who are dating beautiful women. In fact, many celebrities are bald, and women are madly in love with them. This is where step 3 comes in. You have to dwell on this new idea. You have to dwell on the idea that even with the receding hairline, I can get to date beautiful women. The same you can do with other opposing assumptions, like I am overweight or I don't have an expensive car. You will always find a reason that disproves these opposing assumptions. There are people who don't have those six-pack abs, who are bald and drive an old Honda City, and who are still dating beautiful women. Such people would exist. You might call them exceptions, but they are there. So, you have to dwell on these ideas every time your mind gives you some opposing assumption about what you want. Start focusing on this new idea, and within time, these new ideas will become a thought pattern within you that will shift your perspective. Slowly, you would start having more new ideas that disproved your previous assumptions. You would notice that there are jobless people who are dating beautiful women, and those women are even paying their bills. Then ideas relating to an old bald dude riding a Harley motorcycle will come to your mind. It would become like a game, where you would now get the ideas that are shifting your perspective and disproving your opposing belief. Within no time, there would be an army of new thoughts that disproved your opposing assumptions. When this happens, you will start encountering situations that support your new ideology. You would start seeing things that are in line with these new ideologies. You would start noticing men with receding hairlines, and they were sitting in a cafe with a beautiful woman. When you see it in the back of your mind, you will be like, if he can do it, then I can do it too. Then, when a woman at your gym starts noticing you, you have to initiate a conversation with her. When you start this conversation, there are high chances that you will get a positive response. And when you get that positive response, your mind will start accepting this new idea. You would start getting this proof. Slowly, you would start noticing other women also becoming interested in you. And in your mind, you would be like, women are interested in me. These opposing beliefs about having a receding line won't matter to you anymore, as now you have some proofs. I don't care how small the proof is. It will become a fact in your reality in no time if you start persisting in this new idea. In the last step, you don't have to stop. You don't have to stop dwelling on this new idea. Even if the date didn't go well, say to yourself that there are countless women who are still wanting me and who are still interested in me. Over time, these new ideas would become new assumptions, and these assumptions would multiply over time. And you would reach a place where you no longer feel resistance towards your desires. Your opposing thoughts would drop to a very large extent. Don't stop here, start visualizing. Start imagining your desires becoming your reality. This is how your assumptions would change. But always remember that you don't have to believe in your new affirmations at first. You might be shocked, but let me finish. You don't have to believe in your new affirmations because when you start affirming, you will start getting evidence. And when you get this evidence, you will start believing automatically. You would start believing effortlessly. And automatically when you started getting evidence, and evidences would automatically appear when you changed your thinking pattern. Whatever you believe becomes true. It might happen overnight if your opposing beliefs are weak, but it might take some time if your opposing beliefs are stronger than your new idea. So, don't panic. Don't rush. You can do it. Many people have done it. Don't waver. Become persistent in these new assumptions. Now, if you don't get the new ideas effortlessly and need a little push, then I have designed an affirmation tape for you that you can find by clicking on the first video that appears at the end of the screen.